Welcome back, realvacantland.com. This is Luke Smith. I've got another property for you. This one I think is more of development land. I think it makes sense to either put a really spectacular, beautiful home on a large piece of acreage up in the hills, big trees and in the hills of Arizona above Prescott, or I think it makes more sense to cut this one up into smaller pieces and sell the smaller pieces off as cabin lots. And I'll jump into the market in a bit and show you how much cabin lots are going for in the area. But I think it entails itself to some creativity. This is a 33 acres up toward the top of the mountain of Mount Union, just a little ways from Prescott, Arizona, not that far from Phoenix, so kind of in between Phoenix, Arizona and Prescott, Arizona. And if you know Phoenix gets really hot in the summer and people like to leave and they like to go up into the mountains and have a place to stay, have a cabin that's alpine kind of feeling with the trees and the nature that's totally different than down in the valley with the cactuses and the hot. In the winter, it's much more pronounced of a winter with snow and just the leaves falling off the trees. And to me, it would remind me, looking at these trees, it reminds me a lot more of growing up in northern Michigan. And I think a lot of people that have been attracted to Arizona over time are coming from Michigan or the Midwest or the Northeast that are used to and coming from multiple seasons like that. And when you come to Arizona, the seasons kind of go away and it blends in. But if you want a taste of those seasons, it's not very far away. It's just up the hill. And so this property is up the hill, and I think it presents itself to that longing, that yearning to be back home, but it's right in your backyard. So here we go. Let's take a look at this property. We got some pictures taken of this one not too long ago. We got some drone shots of it as well. And now that I think about it, I don't have the drone shots up on the website. I'll try to get those up on the website. But I'm asking $297,000 for this. And I think that price tag will make a lot more sense when you look at what the cabin lots are going for in the area. This is 33 acres, almost 34 acres. It's one of the biggest properties around. And when everyone else has like these quarter acre, half acre kinds of cabin lots, you could knock this thing up into multiple cabin lots. So we've got GPS set up with a map. This map is on realvacantland.com. It's on my website. Go back to my website by going to the link in the description of this video below and check out this property. So there's a piece of a hill that runs through the property. There's a flatter spot on top here. You can see there's a ridge. I think that if you're going to build the big iconic home, I'd probably want to build up here at the top of the ridge, and there's access from the back. There's access there's a street from down below. So there's access on two sides of it, but on top of that ridge, I think would be a fun place to build. Otherwise, these other cabins are nestled into the woods and in the hills, and I think this hillside could be cut up into numerous different cabin lots for the right developer that was willing to put in a road. And I'd probably look at drilling a larger water well in the area and piping that, putting in easements along the road to pipe that water to multiple housing sites within the bigger piece of property. We talked to a surveyor about doing that. It sounded like a couple $1,000 to cut the property up into multiple pieces. It's 33 acres. The way the rules and regulations, from my understanding, in Yavapai County, it's in Arizona. So in Arizona, we can do up to 5 splits without getting into the neighborhood regulations. And we can do, with this size of property, if we stay out of the minor land division regulations in Yavapai County that start at 10 acres and below, if we make anything over 10 acres, we're staying in the state laws where we could just write a deed and say this part of the property, that part of the property, and deed, for example, 11 acres or something. I could deed 11 acres 3 different ways, a couple different people if you wanted, or if you want to buy it and sell it off in pieces, I can show you how to do that or help you with that. Or hire a surveyor to do it for you. If you want to make smaller than 10 acre properties, you got to have a surveyor involved. You got to make maps, and you got to get it past the minor land division ordinances of Yavapai County that this is in. So I think that's more of hire a professional and have them navigate through it. But for what you can sell the small pieces for, I think that is a good opportunity. So let's take a look at it. Let's look at the location. So this location is on basically the top of the mountain. We're at like 6,500 feet or something elevation. I mean, it's some elevation. I'll look up the elevation in a little bit. Here's the top of the mountains over here. So there's a bunch of roads wrapping around. Groom Creek is over here. There's a lake on the road that comes out this way. There's another couple lakes over here. I'll show you this lake in a little bit too, but Prescott is over here. Prescott Valley is over here. I've spent some time in Prescott. My mom set up a house swap with our house in northern Michigan with a family in Prescott. And she said, they want to borrow our house. You know, we usually rent it out, and they offered us this house in Prescott. We could go check out Prescott for a week. And so my dad said yes, and we jumped in the car and we drove to Prescott for a week, and did a road trip and looked around the area and did a lot of nature things in the area. And so I spent some time in Prescott when I was younger. I still remember that trip. And yeah, so that's just what I remember of Prescott. Okay, so let's zoom out some more. And south of here, you get to Phoenix, and down here's Phoenix. And so that gives you a relation to where this property is between Phoenix and Prescott. If you know the area, we're talking about Arizona. There's a buy it now button on here to reserve the property. I think it just asks for $500 to reserve the property. If you want to go buy it, run it through title. I'd like to do this one through title. So we'd go through a title company and make sure all the paper, I bought it through a title company, so I'm sure the paperwork's all in order. But with $1 prices on here, it doesn't cost that much to go run it through title comparatively and make it happen. So I think you should buy it through title. And so put down $500, reserve it. We'll go draw up the paperwork, get it ready to go run through title. So we've got legal descriptions. We've got, it doesn't have the elevation in here. I'll have to get the elevation in. Yeah, so taxes are like $600 a year for this property. And there you go. So I wanted to show some pictures because I had a couple different times I had people go take pictures. So here's a shot, like a springtime picture of running up the mountain when we were doing a due diligence to buy this thing. And just one of the roads, and you can see little streams coming through the trees, and you can see these big leafy trees, and there's big pine trees and leafy trees in here as well. Here's part of the road on the way up the mountain. You can see these trees. These are the biggest trees in Arizona. These are real trees, from my opinion. A lot of the Arizona trees that people talk about are little bushes. Coming from northern Michigan, it's a bush, but in Arizona they call them trees. To me, these are real trees this high up. So here's a shot of a drone shot up over the property. So this is a good sized piece of the property. There's a rock outcropping and part of the property I think would entail itself to some unique landscaping, and a lot of people I've sold property to in the past love to back up to those kinds of rocks or be on top of them and looking out over. So I think it puts some character in the land, and you just have to plan accordingly of driveway and route. So when you go split it up, you gotta have a surveyor figure out the best places to put roads into, and then you can have someone grade out the roads. This area seems to have quite the creative roads going up and down the mountain. They're not like desert trails where they're all straight. They're switchbacks and round, and taking advantage of topography in every which way they can to fit the roads in. And then people stick cabins in everywhere that they can along the way. So this would just be an extension of that kind of development going up the mountain. So here's another shot of it looking down. You can see some different houses down here in the valleys, and some of the ridge. The property goes down here from these roads up to here to this flat, and then there's a trail in the back that gives you access to. I think that might be the top of the mountain, just a hair away. So here's some more shots from above of the trees, and so you're gonna get big trees and big views out over the area and the valleys below. So here's some people RVing it on one side of the property. But I think mainly it's about building cabins to escape the heat of the summer and go experience the 4 seasons that the mountain has to offer that the valleys don't. So here's some more pictures. You guys can all go look at these pictures by going to the link in the description of the video below and go back to realvacantland.com. It'll take you to this particular listing, and you can flip through here and you can look at these pictures and study these pictures out and around and all over the area of the property and a bunch of different angles of the property. And I'll try to get the drone footage, just 3D video footage rolling around the property from above and sides and everything uploaded to the website too. So here's some shots from the actual property with the trees that are on the property. Here's a pin on the map showing the location of the property. Here's some more driving directions around the sides, some lot lines. There's there's a bunch of pictures and diagrams, and it goes on and on and on. Okay, so I wanted to pull up some live diagrams. Here's a diagram to the local lake that's in the area. This is the closest lake. I like fishing, right? So it's like, hey, there's a boat launch over here. Nice. It's this marina and a store, and it's like 8 miles away from the lake. So you just go down the hill a little bit and you get to the boat launch. There's a boat launch over here. There's a bunch of campgrounds. I mean, campgrounds, a bunch of different campgrounds, or maybe the same campground that's just spread out. So people like to come up to the mountain and go camping too, but you could have your own place. You don't have to stay in the campground with all the loud drunken people. It looks like there's a dam here, and they're making like a reservoir, and it's called Lynx Lake. And I was looking at it, and we had some pictures, and I was clicking on it before. I'll see if we can see some pictures here. This looks like this is the restaurant, not the pictures I was thinking of. Looks like some good fries. Maybe it was the boat launch that had the pictures. I don't know, but you could. I had it pulled up before with some nice pictures, and see if that brings up the pictures. Here we go. So here's some pictures of the lake, and it just looks like an alpine-esque kind of lake that would be fun to put your kayak in and go, or a little aluminum boat or something. Not a big boat, but a small boat. Go get your fishing on, right? Or here you go. Here's some people with kayaks in the lake, and some different pictures, people float tubing it, camping, ducks, nature, trees. Here's a shot of the trees. There's people are taking pictures of the trees. You don't see people doing that in Michigan because the trees are all over the place. But in Arizona, people take pictures of trees because these trees stand out. They're not normal Arizona. These are big pine trees that are in Arizona. A lot of people don't think that Arizona has this kind of nature. So the next one is Prescott. So Prescott, like the actual town of Prescott, is just like 15 miles north of here. Google driving says 38 minutes. Prescott's really popular because it's got a Mediterranean kind of climate. Mediterranean climate meaning it's very placid, it's very even, it's not big highs and lows. It's got the right kind of elevation that just keeps a temperate climate going on. So that's drawn people in for years, and they've moved to Prescott, and Prescott's gotten very popular, very expensive, and people have ballooned out from there around the neighboring areas just to be in range of serving and working off of the money that happens in Prescott. To the south of the property, so Prescott's to the north. To the south of the property is Phoenix. It's about a 2-hour drive. They're saying a little less than 2 hours, but I'm round off. It's 85 miles. It's a good drive down to downtown Phoenix. Take the 17. So my favorite part of this story or presentation, whatever you want to call it, it's a story for me. I like telling stories, is the price. So ruralvacantland.com. We always have the cheapest land in the area, right? And I think we've got it again. So if we look at the price here, the cheapest stuff, I didn't do anything about size. I priced from low to high. The one that I've got up for sale is 33 acres. But I don't believe I'm selling 33 acres. I believe I'm selling the opportunity for somebody to come take this property and cut it up into smaller pieces and sell the smaller pieces. I don't think it'll take much money and time to change it from the property it's in now to the smaller pieces. I don't know what that timeline is. I don't know how much money that costs. I've never been in the business of developing properties to actually do that. I've split lots of properties, like basic ones without adding streets and stuff. But I think this one needs somebody who's done this more than I have and who wants to run with it and go make it their project, split it up into some cabin lots. So here's the competition. This is what you would be selling against if you created some of these cabin lots out of this property. This is what's up for sale. So here's some right away. There's some that have been on the market for a while. These are $29,000. They're not up the mountain though. They're down the hill. So 29, here's 29 up the mountain. Okay, so $29,000. This one is a 2-acre property. I think these days on markets are, I'm not sure that's accurate. That's accurate, but they're showing snow in the pictures and just some, pictures of pictures or something. Can't really tell what's going on with the property so well, but it's, it's steep. It's maybe got a power line over there that they're trying to show, and some big pine trees and maybe a cabin next door. So 2 acres with a cabin next door and a road up to the property. They're asking $29,000. So the prices go up from there. Let's see what this one is. This one doesn't seem to have the trees. I want some with the big trees. These are little bushes. I think that's the same property. This is the same one as before. This is closer to a forest lot. I mean, here's a picture of the property. It's not, these are still small trees. But before we get into the big trees, the prices start going up. Here's bigger trees. These trees start to count. $35,000 for quarter acre. They're asking $35,000 for quarter acre. Tall pines and aspen trees. And as you start looking at it, 35, 35, and the prices go up from there. So 35, 40, got them up for sale. If we look at what has sold, let's take the for sale away. So $13,000, one sold for $13,000. That was 3/4 an acre. This is the cheapest thing the last couple of years it sold. And looks like it's got a little bit bigger trees. I don't know if it's got access. They don't do anything about access. It's probably why it's so cheap. It's probably really hard to get to. But if you're going to make a decision on this property, you've got to do this yourself to believe it. You're not going to just believe me. But I'm trying to paint the basics of what you should be going to check. So there's $15,000 for a quarter acre with big trees. $17,000. Like this one looks like they've got a little forest road trail to get there. $17,000 for 0.64 acres. Here's a 1 acre for $19,000. These are ones that actually sold. Doesn't mean you can go buy these. There aren't any this cheap on the market right now, but deals that have happened in the past. There's $20,000 for 1 acre. There's this neighborhood, the potato patch. This has the cheaper ones in it. $20,000 for half an acre. $22,000 for 1.45 acres. So, you know, the trades are happening, and here's happening 30,000, 35s. You know, the 35s and 40s look like they start having a road. So if you put roads in there, you can get up to those prices. Paved road, you're starting to talk about $60,000 properties. And let's look at recent ones. I like to do that too. So the newest, I'm changing Zillow over to the newest. The newest ones in the area, I mean, that's got to have a house on it, right? $500,000 for 0.39 acres. That doesn't, there's got to be a house on there, but it's coded as land. So 20,000 was a cheap one. 92,000 for 0.42 acres. This just happened in August 23rd of 2019. Somebody paid 92,000. Let's see what they paid 92,000 bucks for. It's a, I mean, it looks like our mountains in the background there, and it looks like some nice houses in the area. I think it's got utilities. I think I saw a water box in that picture. Yeah, so this one's got like utilities and big fancy houses around it. And so somebody paid up for that. I mean, it still looks like a pretty steep hill, but it looks like you're going to get views of these same mountains that the property is in. So if you made a neighborhood like this and you targeted big fancy homes and you got the utilities in there with like water going on, maybe you could start swinging at those much higher prices. $73,000, $35,000, $35,000. So I think these $35,000 ones are more like it. So there's utilities, $35,000, $139,000, $30,000 with a little cabin on it or a little shed. So the prices are all over the place. The ones that have been happening recently, $77,000 with a road, $114,000. Looks like it's got a power line. So I think that paints a picture of what kind of neighborhood you'd want to make out of this. Like if you want to target fancy houses, you want to have like rules and regulations with a gate and all kinds of stuff, or however you want to set it up. You figure that out and figure out the economics of those kinds of lots that you can create out of this property. And I think you could start to see the 33, almost 34 acres that we have, cutting it up into multiple properties. and seeing the spread between the price that we're asking, just under $300,000, to making multiple properties out of it that I think you could sell at double, triple, quadruple of what you're buying this property for, or more, depending on the marketing and stature of what you're creating. So that's the idea. That's the benefit of this property. I think that's what makes this the cheapest property in the area. If you try to go buy a 10-acre kind of property like this in the area, I mean, I think you're looking at $250,000 prices, and we're not asking much more than that, and we're 3 times that size. And I think those sizable properties, like 10-acre plus kinds of properties, get those higher price tags because people like to break them up into cabin lots or house lot size properties and sell them for a heck of a lot more than they bought the original piece. And in that lays the opportunity. So if you're up for that game, you want to develop this property, please take a look at it. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to help however I can. I mean, sourcing, pricing, and different contractors and stuff the best I can, but ultimately it'd be up to you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is Luke Smith, ruralvacantland.com, bringing you the cheapest development land in the area. And hopefully you take off with this one and go make it happen, and see you around for the next project. Luke Smith, thanks again. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Talk to you in the next one.